by challenging Aryadeva to debate with a magic slate on which the correct answers appeared of their own accord. Aryadeva promptly dealt with this by spreading oil on it, which prevented the answers from appearing. Next, Matrceta produced a debating parrot also capable of giving the right answers, but Aryadeva at once emanated a cat which killed the parrot. When Matrceta accused him of having done an ill deed, Aryadeva told him that he had left a meditator in Sri Parvata whose task was to purify him of ill deeds. Matrceta demanded to know how one person could purify another's ill deeds. Aryadeva replied by asking how, in that case, the cat's action of killing the parrot could be his ill deed. Matrceta began to feel that he had met his match. He then introduced another emanation, Sister Pandita, the queen of debate. In no time Aryadeva had emanated a shameless holder of layman's vows who exposed his private parts to her. She withdrew at once, flabbergasted by such outrageous behavior. Having been outwitted 3 times by his opponent, Matrceta now hoped that Siva would come to the rescue and enter him. However, Aryadeva had already secured the whole place with spells, surrounded it with dirty rags and placed some excrement on the canopy which was over their seats in order to keep Siva away. The debate then started in earnest. At the beginning the king and all who were present found it quite easy to follow, and there was agreement on whose cushion should be removed, as first the one and then the other scored points. Gradually, however, only the most learned scholars could follow what was going on, and eventually even they could no longer understand the subtle matters under discussion. No one was in a position to adjudicate, nor was anyone aware that Aryadeva had actually succeeded in defeating his opponent.
Suddenly Matrceta transformed himself into 1,000-eyed Indra. Aryadeva outdid him by immediately transforming into 1,000-armed Avalokitesvara. Next Matrceta spewed flames, but Aryadeva extinguished them by releasing a jet of water from his mouth. Then there was no longer any doubt about who had won. In the hope of escaping, Matrceta flew up into the sky. Aryadeva followed him, and as they flew higher and higher, he called to Matrceta that he would die if he left the atmosphere. Matrceta thought this was a ploy to prevent his escape. To convince him, Aryadeva told him to unwind one tress of his matted hair and allow it to stream up ahead of him. It was instantly destroyed. Aryadeva brought Matrceta back to earth and shut him in a temple. He went berserk there and began throwing the scriptures around. Suddenly he noticed a page sticking up in a strange way and stopped to read it. To his amazement he found it contained a prediction concerning him made by the Buddha, and felt enormous contrition for what he had done in the past. He gathered up the books and began to read them. The more he read, the more his faith grew, till finally he decided to take monastic vows. He studied with Aryadeva, became a great master of the 3 sets of teachings and was famed for his eloquent and mellifluous praises of the Buddha. Aryadeva remained in Nalanda for a long time but eventually decided to return to the south.
Before Nagarjuna passed away, he entrusted the quintessential teaching to Aryadeva, who continued to work extensively for the good of living beings, studying and teaching with his students in the areas around Sri Parvata. Having received building materials from the mountain and forest deities, he built 24 monasteries which became centers for the Mahayana teaching. In Radhaganatha near Kansi, Aryadeva entrusted Rahulabhadra with the teaching and passed away. In his preface, Gyel-tsap mentions that Bodhibhadra's explanation of the Compendium of Quintessential Wisdom, a commentary on Aryadeva's Compendium of Quintessential Wisdom, speaks of Aryadeva as having attained the 8th Bodhisattva ground. This is also stated in other accounts. Nevertheless, the passage in the Fundamental Tantra of Manjuri, said to predict Aryadeva, states, it is probable that Aryadeva lived between the middle of the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE and that his literary activity can be placed between the years 225 and 250 CE 15.
Aryadeva's works. The Tibetan canon contains many works on both Sutra and Tantra attributed to Aryadeva, Fags Pala. The Catalogue of the Tibetan Tripitaka, listing the contents of the Peking edition, attributes 19 works on Sutra and Tantra to Aryadeva and a different list of 15 works on Sutra and Tantra to Fags Pala. The treatise of 400 is attributed to the latter. According to modern Buddhologists, there were two Aryadevas, and the works on Tantra are not considered to be by the author of the 400. There appears to be a consensus, however, that at least two other works may be attributed to the author of the 400. One is a text called the 100, found in the Chinese but not in the Tibetan canon, which, together with the works of Nagarjuna, was considered of great importance for the study of the Madhyamaka system in China and Japan. The other is the 100 syllables. An extremely terse refutation of Samkhya and Vaisesika assertions, attributed to Aryadeva in the Chinese canon and to Nagarjuna in the Tibetan canon. The 400, the 100 and the 100 syllables display a certain homogeneity in style and subject matter which supports their attribution to Aryadeva. Tibetan scholars, on the other hand, believe that Aryadeva was a practitioner of both Sutra and Tantra, and that he could well have employed diverse literary styles when writing on different subjects. They therefore traditionally attribute many more works to him. In his preface, Gyel-tsap refers to the lamp for the collection of deeds. A Vajrayana work by Aryadeva, pointing out that the author of our text mentions his level of attainment in it. Among all these works, only some fragments of the 400 and of a Vajrayana text are extant in Sanskrit, which further complicates the task of a Tribhutayan.
The Chinese canon contains 10 chapters of the 100, each consisting of 5 stanzas, and the last 8 chapters of the 400. It also contains a translation of Dharmapala's commentary on these 8 chapters. In his commentary, Candrakirti criticizes such a division of the work into 2 parts, but both Dharmapala and Shi Sang, the Chinese translator of his commentary and of the 400, had no qualms about such a division, since their interest seems to have lain primarily in Aryadeva's refutation of heterodox views. The topics covered by the translated portion of the 100 closely resemble those covered in the second half of the 400. There are additional correspondences with other parts of the 400. This has led to speculation regarding the authenticity of the 100, particularly in view of the fact that Candrakirti, commenting on the title The 400, says the treatise was also called the Hundreds and explains the reason for this. In his commentary on Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom called Clear Words, he refers to the 400 in the colophon as the Hundreds.
There are, however, also differences in the order in which the topics are presented and in the arguments put forward to refute the opponent's theses. Whereas the 400 has only a few analogies in the second half, the 100 contains many, perhaps added by Komarjiva, who translated the work into Chinese. Thus, the 100 could be an independent work or a rearranged and abridged version of the 400 with some additions. The topics treated in the 100 syllables are considered in the same order as they appear in the 2nd to 10th chapters of the 100. On account of its similarity in subject matter to the 100 and 400, the attribution of the 100 syllables to Nagarjuna is considered mistaken.
The 400 stanzas, the title of Aryadeva's work, the 400 on the yogic deeds, is interpreted variously by different commentators. In his commentary, Gyel-tsap says, moreover, this treatise was written to facilitate understanding of the master Nagarjuna's assertion that these stages of the path of practicing the yogic deeds enable those with a Mahayana disposition to attain Buddhahood. In this context, yogic deeds refers to the spiritual paths or insights to be developed by someone with a Mahayana disposition, i.e. one who has great compassion encompassing all sentient beings, but who is not necessarily yet a bodhisattva. The title of Candrakirti's commentary refers to the work as the 400 on the yogic deeds of bodhisattvas. In this case, the one who practices the yogic deeds is clearly identified as a bodhisattva. The text is also said to be called the yogic deeds because it describes the deeds of a yogi or adept of the middle way. According to Gyel-tsap and Candrakirti, yogic describes the paths which these deeds constitute, while